Ja, herzlich willkommen zur neuen Ausgabe vom SI Talk und ich bin in Wien bei der dritten Vienna Gold and Silver Network Night. Das machen wir jetzt schon zum dritten Mal mit dem Jochen Steiger von Commodity TV und ich danke ihm auch, denn er hat das ganze Equipment dahergeschleppt. Ich habe es sozusagen wir ausbauen können und er stellt auch immer extrem gute und interessante Companies vor und eine davon habe ich hier, Treasures Metals, und ja, wir kennen Treasure Metals noch nicht, aber ich habe den Greg Ferron hier und Treasure Metal ist unter dem Symbol TML an der TSX oder auch unter Theodor Richard Cäsar in Frankfurt notiert. So, Greg, thank you to have time.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
My subscribers don't know your story. So
Okay.
maybe you can give us a really rough overview what the company do.
Okay, yeah. Treasury Metals is a Canadian gold developer. We're currently permitting and completing a feasibility on a high-grade open pit in Ontario, Canada. We're listed on the TSX under the symbol TML. We've got about a $45–50 million market cap. And over the past 4 or 5 years, we've continued to advance the project, putting about $25 million of capital into the project through drilling, feasibility type work, permitting. And now we're at this stage by the end of the year, early first quarter 2017, we're hoping to have the permit and feasibility completed.
How big is your resource, what you have, and what is the average grade?
Yeah, we've drilled off through an infill program a 1.5 million ounce deposit. Half that is in the for the open pit, and the balance is in the underground. And you're looking at an average mineable grade of about 2.5 grams in the open pit, which is fairly attractive for an Ontario Canadian project. And the underground will be somewhere between 5 and 6 grams.
In Canada, some parts is really important, the infrastructure. So how the infrastructure is on your project?
Yeah, we have very good infrastructure. We're on the Trans-Canada Highway. We have access to skilled labor in a town nearby called Dryden. There's power, grid power, natural gas, rail, highway. So we have excellent access to infrastructure of the project. And I encourage your viewers to go to commoditytv.net or treasurymetals.com because there's a couple excellent videos that really look at the infrastructure. You can meet some of the team members that are managing the project in Dryden. And that's a great way to check out the infrastructure. And you can also see a lot of the mineralization that outcrops on the project.
Okay, coming to the capex cost and also to the cash cost or the all-in cost.
Yeah, well, we think the initial capital is something that investors should be focused on because there's a lot of large capex projects out there. And in this market, it's quite selective on what projects are going to get funded. And we think being in a jurisdiction like Ontario with a low capex of about $100 million to build the mill and the open pit is quite attractive for investors. And the cash costs from the PEA was $698 Canadian.
Canadian?
Yeah.
So, and the gold price at the moment is 1,500, 1,600 Canadian, or a little bit more, I think so.
Yeah, that's correct. With the currency around 72 to the US dollar right now, 73, you're looking at least a $1,600 Canadian. So quite an attractive margin. And I think that's why you're seeing so much interest into Canadian assets, in particular in Ontario and even parts of Australia. The market investors are looking in those countries for good assets.
Is there one major hurdle for the permitting, or you think it's will running smoothly?
Yeah, well, it's quite an onerous process. The permitting team's been at it for over 2 years, filing a project description, and then an EIS is submitted to the federal government. And we're probably 2/3 through the process. We've completed our meetings, the town hall meetings with the local community, the First Nations, and the government review of the EIS. So now we're addressing those comments, issues, and then when that goes back to the government, it's really up to the government to make a decision on the federal mine permit.
Coming to the financing, after the permitting, or closely when it comes to final permit, you're working on financing, or I must say the other way, is financing really the big thing, or you think the major goal is that somebody take over the whole company? What is the final?
Well, on the financing, we have been able to, in a fairly difficult market the past 4 or 5 years, continue to attract capital. And just a few weeks ago, we announced a $6 million financing with 2 very interesting, knowledgeable investors. So we're quite happy about that. I think that's an endorsement for the project. So we're not too worried about the funding. Obviously, we need to get the permits and feasibility in place. And we think with a project with this grade, with this infrastructure, in a location like this, we will be able to attract the debt financing in equity to complete the initial capital.
Yeah, but bringing back to my, is the final goal more that somebody take over you, or is the final goal to bring it in production?
Well, right now, we're focused on bringing it into production,
Okay.
but Ontario has had, there's probably a scarcity premium going to be put on projects like this in the near future, because there's very few projects at this stage with this quality left in Ontario. So, either things, we think we have the ability to fund it, but there is potential that a company could acquire it as well.
Great. I think this was a great first interview. We do it short and sweet.
Yeah.
Ja, das war das erste Interview für Treasury Metals. Ganz interessantes Projekt, 1,5 Millionen Unzen, verschiedene Kategorien. Bis Jahresende sollte der Permit durch sein. Die Grade ist extrem hoch, 2,8 Gramm pro Tonne. Das ist sehr, sehr gute Gehalte. Deswegen kommen sie auch auf sehr niedrige Cash-Kosten von ungefähr 600, 700 Dollar, kanadische Dollar, nicht US-Dollar. Ganz wichtig, weil im Dollarbereich ist der Goldpreis, also im Kann-Dollar-Bereich ist der Goldpreis um die 1500, 1600. Das heißt, die Marge ist extrem hoch. Ich habe dann ein bisschen nachgebohrt, wie es mit der Finanzierung ausschaut oder ob irgendwie auch eher das Ziel ist, eine Übernahme. Er hat sich darauf natürlich nicht eingelassen, wie es natürlich gehört, auch für gutes Management, dass man sich darauf nicht einlässt. Ein Ziel ist es, die Firma in Produktion zu bringen. Aber mich würde es nicht wundern, gerade wenn man die ganzen Aktivitäten anschaut, die jetzt in Ontario, Kanada und auch am Beginn des zweiten Bullenmarktes ist, wenn da nicht einer herkommen würde und die Company auch dann schlucken würde, weil das Projekt, so viele Projekte in dieser Größenordnung, bei dieser rechtlichen Lage, dieser Struktur gibt es nicht, die diese Qualität aufweisen. Also ganz spannende Sache, wie gesagt, Treasury Metals notiert unter dem Symbol Theodor Martha Ludwig an der TSX oder Theodor Richard Cäsar in Frankfurt. Ganz spannend, sollte man sich auf der Agenda halten und ja, das war's von Wien.